Hello everybody, it's Louise here, and welcome back to my fourth episode of the A-TREE-ciation podcast, where I'll be talking about trees, and nothing but trees. I'm a bit tree crazy, if you can't already tell. If you want to go back and listen to this playlist from the beginning, click on my channel and then go to the A-TREE-ciation playlist. It does not really matter which order you listen to the episodes in, as they are not in a consecutive order, so we focus on a different tree each time, but this is just in case you want to hear it from the beginning so you can get the full, dare I say, VIP experience. Now today we're going to be talking about oak trees and all the folklore behind them. Or maybe not all of it, because I'm guessing there's quite a lot behind this kind of tree. The oak tree has rough, ridged bark that leaves up to branches laden with leaves. Oak leaves have around 6 unequal, thumb-shaped lobes on either side, making it look wavy and beautiful. These turn brown in the autumn and fall off the twigs in the winter. Usually, the oak tree will grow in a dome shape, up to 40 metres tall, with a minimum height of 20 metres. Some will grow a lot taller than this, such as the case of the Mingo oak, which grew in West Virginia to over 61 metres in height. Naturally, this tree is the tallest in the world, well, the tallest oak, I should say. But the oldest is the Pechanga Great Oak, situated on the coastal reserve near Temecula, California. It is said to be around 2,000 years old. Oaks are grand old trees, and I think many people know that they hold a lot of folklore within their ancient boughs. Whilst they might not know the ins and outs of the specific tales, I'm sure the grandeur of this plant did attract their attention in one way or another. One belief about oak trees was that they were connected to the gods of thunder because their trunks were often split open by lightning during summer storms. This probably came from the Vikings when they arrived from Scandinavia and set foot on our northernmost shores. To be fair, oaks are more likely to get struck by lightning than any other tree, partly because of their astonishing height, their long lifespans, and their highly saturated trunks. But maybe divine intervention does play a part. The Celts who were already there, however, had their own beliefs about this tree. The Druids themselves would burn the sacred oak branches during midsummer sacrifices. Actually, the word druid itself means oak man. The Druids would seek arwen, or inspiration, from the lightning. This tradition is called courting the flash. There is an old rhyme with Irish origins that predicts the weather for the summer from the unfurling of the oak leaves. If the oak before the ash, then we'll only have a splash. If the ash before the oak, then we'll surely have a soak. Whether this is true or not, I have no idea, but either way it sounds very classically British, raining no matter what, even in the midst of summer. Let's just hope that the oaks keep growing before the ash. The oak has been a symbol of strength and steadfastness in many countries, such as England, Wales, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Estonia, France, Germany, Moldova, Jordan, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Serbia, and finally, the United States. Gosh, that was a long list. I thought it would never end. Oak trees have also been made into bread and coffee during times when pickings are slim. In World War I, when coffee beans were scarce, the Germans would grind up the acorns and make it into their morning beverage. This was called ersatz, or substitute coffee. As for the bread aspect of things, the Native Americans would grind the acorns into flour, which would then be baked into loaves. There are plenty of recipes online to look at, but make sure that the site they come from is legitimate, because I don't want to be held responsible for acorn poisoning. It would be a strange charge to make against me, but a charge nonetheless, so please do your research and make sure that the bread is safe to make. I don't have insurance. Oak leaves have good fortune properties, as dead leaves go, and to catch a falling leaf from the oak will give you luck in your future endeavours. Again, this is according to the Celtic Druids, not me. Christianity also has a strong appreciation for this tree, due to the saints Brendan and Columba. Columba apparently had a great respect and fondness for these trees, and was reluctant to chop them down, even though they made the best wood for building. If an oak tree fell, he ordered it to be left to rest for 9 days before properly butchering it, and then it was to be distributed among the poor. Despite this, the chapel on his island of Iona was still made from oak wood. That must have been a bit of a bummer to his ghost. St. Brendan's significance with the tree is that he received a message from God to clad his coracle of oak boards instead of animal hides. Legend has it that this small vessel may have carried him across the Atlantic to America, thousands of years before Christopher Columbus came anywhere near. Oak galls, or oak apples, are small, peculiar growths that are found occasionally on the twigs or the leaves of the oak tree. These little deformations are called by wasps, and they contain a black powder that can be made into ink. This ink was used from the end of the Roman era all the way up to the 19th century. As a result of this, many important historical documents and compositions were written with the humble oak gall ink, such as the Magna Carta and Mozart's work. I call the galls popkins. I really don't know why you needed to know that, but you did. You're never going to guess what I'm about to tell you next. Oak rings have been made into music. I know, mind-blowing, right? Multimedia artist Bartholomew Traubeck turns the rings from a slice of the trunk into something similar to a vinyl record, using a special kind of camera to read the indents on the rings, which then produces a sound from it. Crazy, right? In Somerset, there are two very ancient oaks called Gog and Magog, which were named after the last male and female giants to roam Britain. These trees are all that remain of what was once an ancient processional route up to the nearby Glastonbury Tor. In the famous story Robin Hood, it was by an oak tree that Robin himself and his merry men hatched their plots to help the poor. You can visit the tree today in Sherwood Forest. It is known as the Major Oak, even though it probably isn't old enough to predate Robin Hood's time. Oak trees are really fascinating, and they sure have a lot of interesting stories linked to them. They even got as far as to be used in currency. From 1926 until 1936, the British sixpence coin featured a design of oak sprigs and 6 acorns, and the euro and the German, even, Deutschmark, also displayed oak branches on their sides. This tree has also a slightly more sentimental value, as it commemorates a couple's 80th wedding anniversary. I don't think you could find a tree more noble or suited to this purpose. It's a better form of compressed carbon than a diamond any day of the week. Now, I mentioned before that oak trees are saturated. Yeah, they really like their water. An oak tree can absorb up to 50 gallons of water per day, the equivalent of almost 228 litres. And oaks don't really do the understated thing, like ever, because they can produce up to 10 million acorns in their lifetime, which is nuts, if you don't mind the pun. Another chunk of folklore that I've uncovered, again with Celtic origins, is the battle between the Oak King and the Holly King. As the days grow shorter after midsummer, the Holly King triumphs and takes control of the waning year. But on midwinter, when the days grow long again, the Oak King reclaimed his position on the throne, fighting off the darkness and regenerating himself as a vegetation god, who must die each year for the earthly life to be renewed at the spring equinox. This tells us that unless we stay in line with the great circle of life, spring will not be a time of true rebirth, and fresh beginnings will be all but impossible. Medicinally, this oak is yet again bountiful. Honestly, is there nothing this tree can't do? In some places, it was believed that if you walked around the tree and prayed that your ailment would ease, it would be carried off and away from you by the next bird to leave its branches. In Cornwall, if you hammer a nail into the trunk of an oak, then it will take away a headache. Meanwhile, in Wales, if you rub the oak with your left palm on Midsummer's Day, it would keep you healthy all the year round. At last, this lengthy episode is drawing to a close, so it is, as per usual, time for your tree horoscope. If you were born between June the 10th and July 7th, then you were born under the oak tree. You are a level-headed person, stable and strong both mentally and physically. You stand up for yourself and other people who are less confident. You are generous and helpful and try to make others progress at the same speed that you do. You don't keep all your knowledge to yourself either. With an optimistic outlook, you will live a long, full and happy life. You have a deep respect for your family and ancestral history, and you're full of quirky little pieces of information that others find fascinating. If there is one bit of advice I could give to you, then it would be to release the need for structure and to plan everything in advance. Let life do its thing. You can't control the universe, no matter how hard you try. Goodbye, and thank you for listening. If you like this, please consider subscribing to my channel for similar content, and I will see you again in 2 weeks.